There is a new RFC in town, and it might be very cool. Scope functions, and by the way, don't tell anyone, but this is just another name for multi-line short closures. But hang on, this is Brent from the future with a quick side note. I recorded this video, and then I got talking to Volker, who's the creator of the RFC. And he was very adamant that I shouldn't call it multi-line short closure because there are small details that differ from normal closures. And I actually talk about those in this video as well, like the differences with scope resolution, stuff like that. You'll see it later in the video. Keep watching. From a user's point of view, I would say these really look a lot like multi-line short closures. And I really think that's what people will call them if the RFC succeeds, but they are a bit more limited in what they can do. Anyway, I wanted to make that clear up front before we continue with the rest of the video. I think it's a really cool feature. It should be added in PHP. In its current form, it will be fine. It covers all the use cases we actually need multi-line short closures for. So with all of that being said, let's go back to past me and talk about scope functions. Bob and Volker are working on an RFC. It's still in discussion. It might not end up in PHP. I hope it will. This is, I think, the second time that some kind of multi-line short closures have been proposed. This would be super great. Everyone, like almost the whole community, has been asking for it for years now. Ever since we got the short closure syntax. It's very simple. Instead of writing this where you have to manually define which variables from the outer scope you want to be able to access, you just use the fn syntax that we already know and love from the short closures. And instead of writing a fat arrow to immediately return the value, you use curly brackets and you get multiple lines within your closure, while it has access to the outside scope without having to use, which is great. This is what we've been asking for years, and I hope it will work out. As far as I can tell, this is just multi-line short closures with another name and some small details, but I think good details, some restrictions. Let's take a look here. The most important one is this one. If you return a scoped function from another function, that won't work. Well, it doesn't have access to this scope anymore because this issue function has been called and has been closed, it's been removed, it doesn't have this data anymore, so this scoped closure also cannot access it anymore. So that's an error. That's the only thing you need to take into account, but that's fine because the reason we want multi-line short closures is to be able to write this thing instead of this, right? Take a look at this. As soon as you want multiple lines in a closure and don't want to really rely on these uses here, it doesn't work in PHP today. And just take a look at how much cleaner this becomes here. It's such a quality of life improvement. This is the way to go. We need this. Internals, please forget that I called them multi-line short closures. Scope function. Doesn't matter to me the name. I'll probably call them multi-line short closures when they are added in PHP, but I really like this. This is great. I want to show you something because Nikita, back when he was working on PHP, he once talked about this table. We have several ways of defining closures. The first one is what we know, right? This is a function that has manual capture and manual return, a closure, I should say. So you write function in full and you write use here to grab stuff from the outside scope, and then you have your curly brackets and multi-line body, whatever. Then we got this one over here. This is already in PHP, right? This is automatic scope capture with the short fn keyword here, and also automatic return. So a single line. This is what we call short closures. They were added in, I think, PHP 8.1. Arrow functions in 7.4. Actually, wow, that's been a while. Back then, they were called arrow functions, I think. I don't know, or I call them like this. We call them short closures now. Oh, by the way, join PHPverse on this channel on June 9th. We got this one, function with use, so manual return, manual capture, and you have multi-lines because of the manual return, right? You get to choose when you return. With automatic return, you only have one line because that is the line you're returning. And with scope functions now, I do think the naming is a bit confusing. Let's just call them multi-line short closures. We get this variant. So we have automatic capture, but manual return, which means we get multiple lines because we get to choose when we return stuff. So this is really cool. This is what we've been asking for years. But now that I have this matrix here, you see there is one empty cell still. Manual capture with automatic return, would that make sense? If we follow the same structure here, manual capture would mean we say function, right? And explicitly use the use keyword here to capture stuff from the scope, and then have an automatic return, which would mean a function that doesn't automatically capture stuff from the outside scope, but still automatically returns. So a single line long function, probably. That's what that would be called. Would that make sense? Yeah, if you want to make sure that this function here wouldn't be able to access the outside scope and maybe unintentionally do stuff with it, that would make sense. We don't have this yet in PHP. I reckon you would often write it like this, of course, right? So that you just write function and you know, okay, this function has guaranteed no access to variables declared in the outside scope. Yeah, that could be useful. We don't have it. And of course, we don't have this yet either. But this is what the RFC is about. I think it's a really great thing, and we need it in PHP. So let's hope for PHP 8.6. Let's keep a close eye on the RFC when it goes to voting. Let's hope we finally get multiline short closures or scope functions, whatever you want to call them. I would be so happy with this.